Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his apostle. We will be going directly into our program, as Brother Rodney Muhammad has pointed out, and we're going to hear a few words from a couple of other helpers of Minister Farrakhan, and then Minister Farrakhan will be right on. He has an extremely short but powerful lecture for us here today, and we, at his instructions, had tried to reach everybody we could to get out here today because he has a very, very special message for all of us. But I'd just like to mention a couple of things. Well, one thing in particular, you know, it really gets strange when people start admitting, oh, they've denied it, they start admitting that peace is the worst thing they feel could happen to them. And especially since most of the people have just finished celebrating what they say was the birthday of the man they call the Prince of Peace. And then to look at an editorial in a newspaper. And I want you to listen to these words carefully. This is an honor. I have to give him credit for being honest, but it should be somewhat alarming to those who believe the propaganda that America really was looking for peace and that everything that they do, they're seeking for a peaceful world. He's talking about the Reverend William Sloane Coffin, who is a well-known, worldwide known peace advocate. He says, fortunately for this misled preacher and everybody else, peace worldwide is not going to happen. But if it did, can you imagine the consequences? The world economy would be blown to smithereens. Millions upon millions now serving in armies and navies would return to civilian life to join the many millions more already rendered jobless at home by the collapse of all the war and defense industries and their suppliers. What the peaceniks never tell us is the sobering truth about wars in the gory history of human progress. Out of wars have come the giant strides in science, medicine, and technology that make our world the wonder it is today. Had Homo sapiens been a peaceful herbivore, the human race would never have survived the Ice Age, much less built this civilization. It is strife, war, and the fear of war that have historically galvanized human invention and creativity in ways peace never could have. See, somebody finally admits that war is no accident. That's not something that happens because people suddenly can't get along. It is planned, and they know what they want the results to be. Just want to put that on our minds as we go into today's lecture, because we want to be in the proper frame of mind, know where we're sitting when we hear what we hear, and then we'll understand it that much better. So I'd like to present at this time a sister who is a great, great helper. It would be impossible to describe the help that she is to Minister Farrakhan, and therefore to all of us, even those who don't know her. You don't know the contribution that she has made in your lives and is continuing daily to make to your lives. Some of it you will eventually find out. Some of it you may never know. But she is very valuable to black people. Sister Ava Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
All praises due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is surely his messenger. I greet my beloved brothers and sisters here in the Final Call Administration building and in the listening audience in the greeting words of peace in the language of our fathers of Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, we have everything in the world to be happy for today. We thank Master Farad Muhammad for coming here, the embodiment of wisdom and truth of Almighty God Allah himself, who brought a word to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one that would lift us up out of our condition. And though we rejected that word because we weren't quite ready or could not understand it, we were given through Allah's grace a reminder. And now we have the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming through us untampered with and clear from our brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'd like to read a few verses from the Holy Quran in bringing him to the microphones. He is on the rostrum with us today. This section was called by the translator the ultimate triumph of truth. And these are the verses. Surely Allah causes the grain and the date stone to germinate. He brings forth the living from the dead. And he is the bringer forth of the dead from the living. That is Allah. How then are you turned away? He is the cleaver of the daybreak, and he has made the night for rest, and the sun and moon for reckoning. That is the measuring of the mighty, the knowing. And he it is who has made the stars for you, that you might follow the right way, thereby in the darkness of the land and the sea. Indeed, we have made plain the signs for a people who know. And he it is who has brought you into being from a single soul. And there is for you a resting place and a repository. Indeed, we have made plain the signs for a people who understand. And the preaching of our Brother Farrakhan, is like the sowing of a seed. Though you may not see the fruits of it the first time you hear it, if you have faith, and if you cultivate that soil, ultimately that seed will burst forth and manifest life. And this is what the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have done for us. I could not leave here today. I had a tragedy in my family. I lost my mother this morning to a very serious illness. And I thank Allah over and over for giving me good parents, that I may be raised in such a way that when the call came from Brother Farrakhan, my heart and ears would be open. And I want you to know that I draw comfort from you, and that through Allah's grace and mercy, I'm able to accept his taking of my mother. And I'm saying that to you because I want you to know that these teachings are not an illusion. They're not a fantasy. There is real comfort, and Allah is not a spook. He's real. And he has something for you that will comfort you if you will only come to him. So I thank him for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I thank him for our dear brother. Please welcome one who loves us dearly, our brother, Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, Brothers and sisters, we'd like to indulge your patience just a few more minutes before Minister Farrakhan comes up. And I just want to say to you that what we have just witnessed is a soldier. You know, there was a brother who was about to address the FOI a couple of weeks ago on the importance of being warriors. And I was able to stop him beforehand, and he's gone back and done some more research. Warriors are good. Warriors are great, and all soldiers are warriors, but all warriors are not soldiers, because you're going to hit some times in the stroke of the war, and even in peacetime, that your warrior mentality won't see you through. You have to be a soldier. And I think for the sister to get the news that she got less than an hour ago, you know, and to stand before us, we see something we all got to live up to. So, brothers and sisters, I'd like at this time to bring before you another helper of Minister Farrakhan of long standing, his national assistant, with whom we're all familiar. He's not only the national assistant, he's the, we hope, the national chronicler in the future of everything that has gone on in this nation, especially in the last 10 years. In fact, I know he's working on it. Everybody's waiting with bated breath to begin to see some product. But he's working on it, and we're anxious to see it. And in the meantime, though we can't read him right now, at least we can hear him. Let's welcome Brother Abdul Akbar Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I greet my brothers and sisters in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Minister Farrakhan, and to the staff, very happy to be here. Very happy to see so many of the believers out today. And it reminds me of a subject of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the victory of the apostle. I want to quote a verse from the Holy Quran, and as Sister Ava announced that her mother had passed, which I didn't know until she announced it just now, but there's the 108th chapter of the Quran called Al-Qatar, and it says, "In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, surely we have given thee an abundance of good. So pray to thy Lord in sacrifice. Surely thy enemy is cut off from good." And I'm saying that there is an abundance of good that we have been given. And you have to see the good that you have been given. Sometimes we don't appreciate it or don't even realize it. And so I'm saying that in this hour, our enemies are being cut off from the good that Allah would have given them if they would have submitted. But they didn't submit. So Allah is blessing us with an abundance of good. And Minister Farrakhan, the kind of brother that he has always been, has always said that in an hour that God blesses you with either an abundance of that you have been seeking and praying for, he blesses you with children and good children or family, a good position or good business, then that's the abundance of good and the blessings of God. And what you have to do, one thing, is pray to Allah and make a sacrifice that you can keep that good going. And in the years that I have been blessed to work with Brother Farrakhan, that's what his work has been about. I heard his tape last week. I was preaching in New York, and when I got back to Chicago, I listened to his tape and the intensity. And he was like Jeremiah, one crying in the wilderness. And he sees the pain coming to black America. He sees the enemy mounting up. And in every city across this country, the attacks on young black people and black people in general. And he's like sounding the alarm to black America. And it reminded me of when we were in New York, he taught a subject. I don't know how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad responded to the subject, but I want to repeat what he said. And being that he was always pulling for whatever Allah would bless him with, that he could deliver to the people to move them, to get them to thinking and to move in the right direction. He said about the sun striking the earth and the rotation of the earth. He said in a lecture, as I've been reading my books to try to get this history straight so that I can make it available to the brothers and sisters, I used to sit on the rostrum and write parts of his subjects for years when we were in New York. And this particular Sunday, he described the sun striking the earth at the equator. And he said the light from the sun hitting the earth, causing the earth to spin, made him feel or look at people running from light. But yet and still, when they run from the light, it causes movement. That's the movement of the earth. And they're trying to run back to darkness because there's so much comfort in darkness. There's a saying that we have that ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is happiness. Let me stay in the dark. But once the light hits, then you're responsible for that light. So that light makes you move. And where you think you're running to get back in that comfortable position, Minister Farrakhan said, you don't realize it, but you're causing a revolution in itself. So there are people who hear the divine truth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming out of our brother's mouth. And it's a powerful truth. If you just listen to that lecture last Sunday, it was a short lecture, but it was strong, it was moving. I mean, it made you rock because you could feel the intensity of the brother. So he represents like a light and is striking a people. And sometimes you know it's right and you're trying to get your act together, but you want to run back into darkness or find an excuse to stay in the darkness. But as you run for the darkness, you begin to create a movement that causes a revolution. It's going on in America today. So, Brother Minister Farrakhan, we're with you 1,000%. We want to back you up. We want you, when you teach all praise is due to Allah. When you teach like that, I know what the words sometimes of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ringing in your ears. You have to stay on the course. And what happens, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when you teach your people long enough and they still don't respond, then you have to do something different. We're not going to do anything different, but the enemy will do something different to make you open your ears and your hearts and listen to this message. So let us hear from Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Let's bring him on with a warm round of applause.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, the one God, and I bear witness that Muhammad is most certainly his messenger. I greet all of you with the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. I'm very thankful to Allah for your presence here this afternoon at the Final Call Administration Building, and I'm very grateful for the presence of those of you, or the ears of those of you who are listening via radio station WBEE. We are overjoyed to have a privilege and an opportunity to use these airwaves properly, to convey over the air that which God would be pleased with his servants receiving. I would like to start my short talk to you this afternoon with some words that I received from Brother Jibreel Muhammad in an article that he is writing for the Final Call newspaper, and I thought I should like to mention those words as an introduction and to say to Sister Ava Muhammad, certainly she has our condolences, she and her family, and we thank Allah for her mother, and we thank Allah for the life that her mother had and for the life that her mother brought from the womb, from Allah, for us. These words of Brother Jibreel struck me, and I thought I should recite a few of them. He talked about life and the trials and tests that come to all of us as living entities. Almighty God, the giver of life, the best knower, the beneficent, the merciful, does not intend evil for his creatures. His intentions for all of us is good. Although in his wisdom he allows circumstances to be created either by us or by others that test the fiber of our own being and manifest our weaknesses and strengths. God's aim is always to bring out of us what he, the Creator, has put within. And his aim is always to purify us and make us more worthy of the abundance of good that he is prepared to offer his servants on condition that they submit to his will. Now, trials come to all of us. We're tried by life. We're tried by death. We're tried by riches and we're tried by poverty. We're tried by knowledge and we're tried by ignorance. We're tried by joy. We're tried by sadness. We're tried by victory and we're tried by defeat. We're tried by war. We're tried by peace. We're tried by the planting and we're tried at harvest. But in everything that God permits us to undergo, there is in it a test and or a trial. And these trials are to bring up out of us what is in us. You can't be better if you're sick, and what is making you sick is within. So the only way you can get well, if you've taken something within that is not good, you have to bring it up and get it out. Poison in the system can lay dormant for a while, hide itself, but it begins to adversely affect the proper functioning of the systems. So it sets up dis-ease or lack of ease called disease. Then you may get a pimple that grows into a boil, and the boil looks so ugly. But the ugliness of the boil is absolutely necessary in order for the system to be purified. Without the boil coming up and then bursting, and the liquid or the fluid or the poison coming out of the system, then the system cannot be healed. So sometimes in our ugliest moments, we are just in front of a healing. And sometimes when things that you didn't know were in yourself begin to come out under a trial, under a circumstance, you speak words that you didn't know were in your heart to speak. You act in a certain way that you really didn't know you had the capacity to act that ugly or that evil or that good. But it is God bringing up out of us things that are within us that we may see what is wrong and take the proper steps. Now, as you approach a trial, there has to be the right frame of mind, the right spirit in order to come through it right. Sometimes when God brings a condition into your life that you don't like, how do you approach God to try and understand why He permitted this circumstance? I mean, we don't always know. In fact, we know very little. But we should be seeking answers. But you don't question God out of anger. You don't why you take my child? Why? See, then the anger that's coming up in us against God compounds the problem. For now we become the real problem that is hindering us from finding the solution. When things come up in your life that bring pain and anguish, you don't go to God with undue anguish. You don't go to God with rage, vindictiveness, bitterness. You go to God with a proper mindset. And the Quran gives us the mind that we are to approach God with. Allah says to us in the Quran, when a misfortune befalls us, the righteous say, God is our patron. And to Him is our eventual return. When you say that, you say, well, if this unfortunate circumstance brings me pain, I know that you are my patron. And I know that if there's pain in my life, ultimately beyond the pain, there's some relief. There's some joy. So I'll just wait on God. Keep on working because I know that the ultimate end is good. That's the kind of mind a righteous person should always have when some misfortune comes into our life. And as black people in America, I mean, we have some misfortunes. Plenty of them. In fact, just being alive and black in America is a misfortune. And we need to understand that God knows why He permitted our fathers to come across that Atlantic or be brought here. He had a purpose in mind. It caused pain and suffering and sadness, but our fathers made it through, and we are the children of those parents. God had a reason for all of that. But if you get angry with God, why you do this to me? See? Then you become the problem. You can never find the solution because your spirit isn't right. So God has to allow you to wallow in the pain of the problem until the pain becomes so great that you humble yourself enough to know that no doctor can heal you. No friend can get to you. Mama can't help you. Daddy can't help you. But you instinctively know that there is one who is able to hear your cry. But He has to make you humble enough to call out to Him in humility, not in vindictiveness. In humility, not in anger. In humility and in steadfastness through your suffering. And so, beloved, I learned this as a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that God Almighty, Allah, is interested in our affairs. And whether you wish to believe this or not, He has chosen us for a very specific and profound duty. But in the first instance of God's choosing of a people, they don't understand. And that's natural. Sometimes you don't live long enough to understand. Sometimes you make so many mistakes in your misunderstanding that you leave here before you can understand. But if God is gracious unto us and allows us to live long enough, through our misunderstanding and our earnest seeking of God, He gives us understanding. Now look, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not just a friend to black people, but he was really a friend to America. How could he be if America is an enemy of God and an enemy of us? Well, yes. However, enemy to you, enemy to me, enemy to God. Well, we need to discuss this in depth. We don't have the time today. But God doesn't even destroy His enemy without showing mercy to that enemy. That's His nature. He can't be untrue to Himself. And when He comes to you, He comes to you when you are acting as an enemy or an outright enemy. He makes an appeal to you that is in a way that will pull you away from the path of the enemy and make you one of His servants. God's appeal has to be powerful. And the Quran says, so solicitous of your obedience is God, that even when He calls you and you rebel, He gently begins to bring about distress and affliction around you, that you might through distress and affliction begin to humble yourself to a message that you should have heard when it was first sounded, but pride and arrogance and desire and whatnot stopped your ear from hearing God's call to you personally. Now each one of us, you don't have to be a prophet to be called of God. You just have to be born into the world. And when you're born into the world, you have a very special and unique relationship with Almighty God. You don't have to be black or white or rich or poor or wise or foolish. You just have to come onto the earth. And you have a relationship with the divine being, because you could not have come unless He permitted it. And since your mother nor your father gave you life, but God Himself is the life giver, then He gives it to all the creatures that are here. Then you have a special relationship with Him, and He with you. Huh? All right. Now, the God is so loving. He's not vindictive. He's not a brutal God. He's a loving, merciful God, oft returning to mercy. I mean, plenty of forgiveness in Him. I mean, almost without number does He forgive. And He lays the path down so beautifully till He's always bringing you to Him by different schools that He drops you down in. When you won't hear this lecture by this teacher, He got another teacher and another lecture for you. And sometimes if you don't hear the call when it's sweet and nice, He gives you a lecture from somebody else who will begin to spank at you and whip on you. He got all of these agents and forces that He uses. I want you to hear me, because I'm moving quickly, but I don't want to miss a point. The point I'm getting to is this. When I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I, like you, a black brother from among a suffering people. I didn't go to school in Georgia or Mississippi and Alabama, grow up there as a little boy. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. There was racism there, but when you live in the ghetto all your life, you really don't know what's happening outside the ghetto. I mean, all my friends were black. I didn't grow up with white folk. They were all black. So I didn't know what prejudice was. You know what I mean? My parents were from the Caribbean, and some of the American-born blacks didn't like blacks from the Caribbean and vice versa. So I had to grow up under that kind of madness, you know. But when I began to move out into white society, I began to see another reality here. My mother told me about it. Her friends would talk about it, but now I began to experience it. And I was very bitter at what white America did to black people. And most black people are bitter at our experience in America. We have suffered an awful lot under injustice. And suffering under injustice makes you bitter. It makes you mean sometimes. So when I heard the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the white man is the devil, well, I was ready for a message like that. Because I knew couldn't nobody give us hell like this but a real devil. But I was not prepared. I was not prepared to admit the fact that the devil works for God. I wasn't prepared for that reality. So what? What? The Quran says hell is meant for purification. So anyone who's a keeper of hell is working for God, because whenever you need purifying and you won't purify by the word, you won't purify by God's call to your righteousness, then he got a teacher for you. He drops you over here in a little hell under real show enough live devil to whoop the hell out of you. That's his purpose. Beat the hell out of you. So I know it's painful, but if hell is coming out, then heaven is coming right behind it. You understand? Then after hell has done its job, then God can say to the devil, okay, we can cool you out now. Turn off the fire. I'm going to bring my servants. So you did a good job, devil, but I can't use the devil in the hereafter. Now, I made you to raise hell now for a certain purpose, but now we're about to go into a new thing here called the kingdom of God. Now, you can't make it into that, devil. You served me well in this capacity. But except you be born again, you can't come into this new life. So unless you will accept to die in the form that you're in, because we don't have hell in the hereafter, so there's no need for no devil there. So now, are you willing to be destroyed as a devil in order that you can come to birth in that which will allow you to live in my world? Then the devil has to answer. So God and the devil, they constantly talk to each other in the Quran. The devil says one thing, God says another. The devil knows that God always has the upper hand, but he said, well, look, don't kill me yet. Respite me till the day when they are raised. I mean, delay my destruction. So God said, all right, you are of the respited ones. I mean, it's a deal. And a handshake on it. Because God knows he's the master. He's not afraid of any competition. He's not afraid of Satan and his powers. He understands and gave Satan his power to deceive. And he told him, he said, you can deceive all of them except my purified ones. Now, there's some you're not going to get your hands on. But those that you get your hands on, I'll even take them from you to prove that I am God. Always have been, always will be, and if I want you, devil, I'll make you right. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't say that we could ever make the devil right. In fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you cannot reform devil. All the prophets tried. And that's the truth, absolutely. No prophet could reform the mind that Yaqub gave to the Caucasian. The mind that the white man has, that he gave you, by the way, and me. Yeah. God didn't give you that mind you got. That mind you got is a pistol. And with it, you shoot everything in sight, including yourself. Is it all right, black folks? Yes, sir. You may not like this, but the mind that you and I have from our experience in America, coming up under the institutions of white people, is their mind. And their mind was given to them by an opposer of God, whom the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called Yaqub. That mind that white people have cannot be reformed. There's no such thing as appealing to it. There is no such thing as getting along with it. And this is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the devil you can't get along with him in peace, because the kind of mind that he has, you either come on his terms or he has to go to war with you. That's the mind of the Caucasian. You don't have peace on the terms of justice. The Israelis don't want peace with the Palestinians on the terms of justice. They want peace on their own terms. White America don't mind you having peace with them, but you got to have peace with them on their terms. White folk don't care nothing about you having peace with them. They would love to be at peace with you, but it got to be on their terms. You be my nigga. You be my flunky. You work for me. You do what I tell you do, nigga, and we'll have peace among us. But that's not God's peace. Do you understand what I'm saying? Harold Washington could have had peace in the city council. All he had to do was go along with the program. But if he came with his own program, his own agenda, then he has to go to war. And after he overcomes, he got to be very careful. Because, it's silly for even a black man as wise as Mayor Harold Washington was to think that white folk enjoy you ruling in their house. You're really a fool when you think that. He don't enjoy Sawyer. Don't give a doggone what you call us. We may be mayor, we may be congressman, we may be city council, but you in the white man's house. He built this house for white people, and any nigger that comes into power in the white man's house and refuses to be his nigger, his boy, his flunky, he'll kill you in that office. Oh, you may be angry. Are you angry with me? Do you think Reverend Jackson can be president in America and come with his own agenda? Come on now. They'll kill Jesse the morning after if Jesse tried to introduce an agenda that is not white folks' agenda. And he's already showing you signs that he can't have no agenda. Not as no black man. He got to put his brother to the side if it will help him with the Jews. He got to stay away from the nationalists if it will help him with the Irish. He got to do this and that. So when you got to play them kind of pussyfooting games, and if you get power, it's not your power. It's the white man power. He give it and he take it away because this is his word. So I respectfully and humbly suggest that Harold Washington didn't know the mind of the people he was dealing with. And I respectfully suggest that Martin Luther King didn't know the mind of the people he was dealing with. And I respectfully suggest that every so-called Negro in America that want to be one with the mentality of Satan does not know what you're dealing with. There is no compromise with this mind. You either bow down to it or you got to kill it or it will kill you. It's wartime today. Martin Luther King is not greater than Moses. Martin Luther King is not greater than Jesus. Jesus could not reform these people. Moses could not reform them. Abraham could not reform them. All the prophets tried and failed. Why? Because you cannot reform Satan. Satan has to be destroyed. That's why God set a day on Satan, a day of judgment. And at the same time that he set the day of judgment, he set the day of resurrection. Resurrection and judgment go hand in hand. You can't kill Satan without raising humanity to the pinnacle that God intended for human beings to be. But you cannot be raised to God unless the mind of Satan is destroyed. How do you destroy that mind? since it's a mind based in falsehood, it is a mind rooted in injustice. It is a mind rooted in supremacy, in rulership based on color consideration, based on racism, white supremacy. You can't compromise with that if you're black. You have to destroy it. And the only way you can destroy it is if you know the truth. And the Quran says, and Allah, had we wished to take a pastime from before ourselves, we would have done it. Nay, we cast truth at falsehood till we knock out its brains. It's the brains of Caucasian people filled with the message of Yaqub that has to be destroyed. That's why in the Arab world they use the sword to take the head off of a wrongdoer. But taking the head today is not done with a sword. It's done with the sword of truth. Yes, sir. Take the head off of Satan and put the head of God on the human being. Well now, Brother Farrakhan, how does that fit in with your subject? My subject was to say to all of us that the signs that God shows us in the world were all leading to this very day in which we live. One of the greatest of the signs was Abraham and Abraham's work. Therefore, every prophet of God is made to mention Abraham. Abraham was the first in this world to preach a pure monotheism after coming from polytheism, where he looked at the sun and he thought that the sun might be God, and the moon and the stars, and finally he saw that none of them could be his God. He saw the people worshiping idols, and he broke their idols when they didn't see him. And then when they came out and said, who did this? Who broke our idols? Little Abraham told him, say, well, ask the idol. If he's God, he should be able to tell you. Strong point, isn't it? Many of us who go to church and bow down to stone and statues and images of God, made in all forms and colors. The image is never the reality. So we are warned by Moses, don't make any graven image and don't bow down or worship them. Is that right? So Abraham saw the people worshiping these statues. He took the chief statue and broke it. Then when the people came and said, who did this? He said, ask him. He's the chief. He should be able to tell you who did it. And when the stone couldn't talk, he said, well, this is a pitiful God that you bowing down to. Somebody beat him up, broke him up, and he can't even tell you who did it. Now, if I smack you, you know who smacked you. And if somebody asks you who did it, you say, hey, that's the one. So why should you bow down to a stone that can't tell you nothing? When you got the ability to be a witness, the stone can't be a witness of anything. All right, so that Abraham now, great man, he and his son Ishmael, according to the Quran, rebuilt an ancient house of worship at Mecca called Kaaba. Now, those of you who know nothing of Islam, you hear pilgrims going to the holy city of Mecca. You've heard of Mecca. They use the term, that's the Mecca of sports. That's the Mecca of this. It means it's the center of attention where that particular thing is concerned. Mecca is the center of the righteous objective of the righteous on the earth. It's the focal point of 1 billion Muslims. They put ancient house of worship that Abraham and Ishmael rebuilt the foundation of. Now, when Abraham and Ishmael built that house, Abraham and Ishmael said a prayer. To me, this is wonderful, because to do a work, you want to know whether God is pleased with what you're doing. So after Ishmael and Abraham had raised the foundation of the Kaaba, they prayed to God and said, "Our Lord, accept this work from us." Isn't that beautiful? How many of us do some work and then ask God to accept it? How many of you make a baby, and while the baby is being made in the womb, ask God to accept what you're making and make it His? How many of you go to work on your jobs as a carpenter or brick mason and build something and ask God to accept it? You can't do that unless the thought in the mind of the builder is to do something for God's glory. Abraham wasn't here for himself. Abraham came to the earth for God's glory. His son Ishmael came to the earth for God's glory. So when God tried Abraham with certain commands, the Quran doesn't specify what those commands were, but anytime you want to see what's in a person, give him an order that seems so contrary to what's right, and see will he believe that you are still God. God, according to the Bible, said to Abraham, "Take your son up on the mountain and sacrifice him for me." Abraham had waited a long time for this child. Finally, he got the child. God said, "Kill him for me." Now, isn't that a strange command? Is that normal? You would think that if God gave you a command, it would be within your purview of what righteousness is. And your purview of what righteousness is so limited, bless your little heart. You know, we say, "Oh yes, this is righteous. I must do good to my fellow man and be sweet and kind and smile and feed the hungry and the wayfarer." Oh, that's wonderful, and that is good. But when God does good, His good is so far in the future till it may look evil today, but it comes out good in the end. And unless you really believe in God, have faith in God, His evil, or that which you think is evil, if you don't believe that it's from God, you can't carry it out. You say, "Hey, wait, I was with you, God, till you said that." Now, Abraham could have said, "God, I was with you. When you tell me take my son up on some mountain and drive a dagger into him after I've been waiting, Sarah was 90-some years old and the woman was barren. I had to go into a handmaiden of mine to get this child. Now you gonna tell me kill the child? What's wrong with you, God?" Now that's the way most common people would talk to God. Remember what I said about seeking God in anguish and bitterness? But Abraham didn't do that. Abraham said, "Lord, if this is what you command, if this is what pleases you, it pleases me." So Abraham takes his son up on the mountain, and the son willingly goes. I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say one day that Satan met the boy on the way up the mountain and told him, "Don't go up there, because your father ain't going to sacrifice no sheep up there. It's you." And Abraham's son told Satan, "If that is what pleases God, it pleases me also." So now the son goes up to die, and the father goes up to kill the son. So when he lays the son on the altar and is about to drive the dagger into the son, God stays his hand and said, "I just wanted to see, Abraham, did you love me over your son?" And then with the son was so willing to give up his life. He said, "I wanted to see, did you love the life that I gave you more than you love him who gave you the life? And since both of you submitted to my will, I will make my covenant with both of you, both the Father and the Son." Look at this now. So then as God makes his covenant with Abraham, and Abraham builds this house of worship. Now Abraham is praying. Listen, he says, Lord, make us both submissive to you. Make us both, in the Arabic language, Muslims. He didn't say that he was one. He asked God to make him one. What does that mean? In this world, you cannot be made submissive to God except with the help of God. Those of you in the listening audience, we got 5 more minutes. I'll try to finish it, but if I don't, sorry about that. Wish you were here. I can finish in 10 minutes, 15 at the most. But if you're nearby, riding around, just come on in and Final Call Bldg and hear the rest of this. And if you can't, call 994-5775 and get the tape. But I'm going to try and finish quickly. Now, Abraham is made, in this instance, the father of the righteous. And then he prays, not only do I want you to make me a Muslim, but I'm looking at my offspring way down the line of time. Listen to what he prays. He said, Father, or Allah, Lord, and raise up from our offspring a nation of Muslims, a nation of people in obedience to your will. As me and my son obeyed your will, by your permission, I beg you, make a nation of people who will bow down to you and to you alone and obey your will. And he said, Lord, show us our ways of devotion and turn to us mercifully, for thou art the oft returning to mercy, the merciful. Then he prays, our Lord, and raise up in them a messenger from among themselves, who shall recite to them thy messages and teach them the book and the wisdom and purify them. Surely you are the mighty, the wise. That's to tell you right away that Abraham's seed is going to be in a tough condition. In a world under the rule of Satan. In a world inflicted with the blinding mentality of Satan. In a world where they cannot be at peace in Satan's world unless they bow down to Satan's way. You can't have no peace in the white man's world unless you go along with his way. And the only reason the church is not being attacked by the white man like they attacked Jesus and Moses and the prophets is because the church is actually the house of Satan. No, Reverend, don't get hot. Don't get angry. Don't get upset, Reverend. I'm talking to you and about you and what house you in. And you cannot challenge me with nothing you have and win the argument, because I can prove to you all day long that the house you in is not Jesus' house, is not God's house. Otherwise, the white man would be persecuting that house, those people in that house. But he leaves you alone because you are his and he is yours. Now, I know I made a lot of enemies. Some of you hot with me. Wait a minute. Well, you should. But I don't want you to be angry with me. Because even those in the mosque, those in the masjid, you claim to be in the religion of Allah. But if we measure your practice according to the criterion of the book, we find we are also under the rule of Satan's mind. There got to be a place that God sets up. On this rock I build my house, and the gates of hell will not prevail against that house. But hell is prevailing in every house that we got, because Satan is the boss there. Dear beloved brothers and sisters, I'm going to conclude this subject in the next 15 minutes with the help of Allah. Now, do you think that Abraham was a sign of something to come down the road? Allah calls Abraham and the prophets his signs. The Kaaba at Mecca is a sign of God. A sign is pointing towards something bigger than itself. Are you listening? Follow me closely now. If Abraham and Ishmael worked on some stone and built it for God, then Abraham is not doing the real work. Abraham is forming a sign of the real work that had yet to be done. Follow me now, follow me. Moses comes along, and Moses takes a seed of Abraham that was in bondage 400 years, and he makes of them a nation called Israel. And then they fall back and go crazy. And prophets after prophet is sent to them, and they still don't get it right. Moses builds a tabernacle in the wilderness, a sign. Jesus comes along, and Jesus goes to work with the people in a strange kind of way. And the Jewish priests tell Jesus he's off the mark, he's wrong. They call him a devil. Notice that. They attack Jesus, they conspire against Jesus, and they ultimately take his life. Prophet Muhammad comes along, peace be upon him. Prophet Muhammad, even before he gets the call, he goes to Mecca, he sees a stone, the black stone, out of place. Still the sign, the house. He takes the stone, him and 4 chiefs put the stone back in place. He's working not on the thing that God ultimately has in mind. He's working on the sign, perfecting the sign, so that when the real thing that the sign is pointing to comes down the road, you won't have any chance to make a mistake. Now, do you think stone is more valuable to God than a human being? Talk to me. We see the most beautiful houses of God all over the world. They are magnificent. And people sit around and glory in the stone and don't pay any attention to the people that is on the inside, turning into stone. Huh? When I was in Mecca, I saw the most beautiful house. Gold on the minarets, poverty in the streets. I said, could this be the house of God and have no effect outside its gates? I saw the sign, but I was reaching for what the sign was pointing toward. Please bear with me in these last 15 minutes. I don't care what you build of mortar and stone. There is no building of mortar and stone more valuable than this flesh and blood and bone and spirit that is you, the human being. We spend millions to build a house of stone, but won't spend $1,000 to educate our children. See? Our minds are backwards. Our values are off. Our priorities are off. But sometimes the symbol is the thing that you rally the real people around. So you have stone in Mecca, and you have real human beings walking around the stone. That's showing you that the stone is the symbol, and it is so powerful a symbol that human flesh will walk around the stone and bow down because it is said to be the house of God. Now, what am I driving at? Satan's role, or to be very specific, the Caucasian. Is to purify the earth and get it ready for the presence of God. How do you purify the earth and get it ready? You put hell everywhere so that people get sick and tired of their own rebellion against God. They begin looking, why am I failing in everything I try to do? Why does it fall apart? It's because God is not at the center of it. God didn't bring you here to make you unsuccessful, brothers and sisters. But you and I are failures because we have been misguided by the world of the white man, and we are working contrary to the principles that bring success. Are you all right?
Yes, sir.
You are more valuable to God than any stone that you could find in the earth. Take the best stone. What might it be? Might it be a diamond? Might it be a ruby? Might it be an emerald? There's not a diamond, if it's as big as Mount Everest, that is worth one of you in the sight of God. You don't believe that? You will kill one another over a diamond. But there is no diamond on the earth, the hope diamond or the no hope diamond, that is worth one human being. Do you believe that?
Yes, sir.
All the money that you can find and throw out among the people is worth nothing in comparison to the life of one of you. There is no substance in the earth or in the heavens above that equals you in value, not even the sun, nor the moon, nor the star. It doesn't have the value of one of you, because the sun cannot help but bow down to God. The sun got to bow because it was created that way. The moon got to bow. The stars got to bow. But it is only man that can say, I refuse. He got a will akin to God's own will. Man can say, kun, fayakun, be, and it is. No star can say that. No moon, no sun. There is nothing in creation greater than man. And when I say man, I'm saying woman and man. Nothing in creation is your equal. You are supreme above it all. You are the supreme beings of the universe. But you have acted under the mind of Satan, which have dropped humanity down lower than the beasts of the field. So if God now has allowed us to fall this far down, that we have become like stone, our hearts hard against God, hard against his way, stony-hearted people, then God says, I'm going to do a work that even though you look at it, you won't even believe it. Because in that day, I'm going to take these hearts of stone and I'm going to give you hearts of flesh. I'm going to take a people destroyed by Satan, and then I'm going to raise you up and make you the cornerstone and the foundation of a new world, a new order, a new government that is called in the Bible the kingdom of heaven. In Islam, it's called the hereafter. And you that have been brought to nothing, you will be the foundation of that kind of eternal house of God. Not made of stone, but made by the hand of God. And a stone was hewed out of a mountain without hands. And the stone came rolling down the mountain. And it gathered mass. And as it became so huge in its gathering, it also became a mountain itself and tore up the kingdoms of the world. Isn't that something? Jesus is called a precious stone. Look at this now. A tried stone. A precious corner stone. Look at this. If Jesus is human, and he is, and he is called the precious tried cornerstone, stone, then the building that Jesus is the cornerstone of is not a building of mortar and brick and stone. It is a building with human beings in it as the real foundation that Mecca was to serve as a sign of.
Yes, sir.
Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm coming to something that's very sticky, but I want you to hang with me. Jesus of 2,000 years ago was a prophet. He's passed away like all the prophets before him. Moses, a great prophet of God, passed away. And physically, he's not among us. Spiritually, yes. Abraham, the father of the righteous, passed away. He's gone. Spiritually, he's alive. The very spirit of his life is alive in the righteous. Okay? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all the worthy servants of God, he passed away. But the spirit, the essence of the man is alive. Huh? Okay. Now, if the prophets are gone, they did their work and they're gone. This Jesus that the book is talking about was a man raised from where? From who? Say it again. Jesus, the prophet 2,000 years ago, he wasn't raised from among some dead folk. Prophet Muhammad was not raised from among dead folk. At least they didn't call the Arabs dead. They said they were asleep. You could say that they were raised from among dead people because all humanity has died under the oppressive weight of Satan's rule. But in that death, there's somebody that is more dead or in worse shape than any other human being on the earth. I wonder who that is. Now travel with me. Just travel. Travel with me. Let's go to Europe. How many of you been to Europe? Fine. Let's travel in books. But look, I understand, brothers and sisters. Believe me, I understand it's hard to get a token to go uptown. I understand. Those that live on the west side stay on the west side. They don't make it to the south side and vice versa. We understand our condition, but we don't have to travel on the subway or the bus or the plane or the train. You can travel through reading. Let's travel together, just quickly. If you ever been in Europe, you go everywhere in Europe. In every country we've been in, I think Akbar been in more in Europe than I have. Everywhere we look, we find a nation working. We went to London. We went to England. We saw the people. Did we see them working, brother? Were they working? We went to Belgium. They were working. They were building. They had schools. They had factories. They had farms. They were feeding themselves, governing themselves. We went to Denmark. They were doing the same. We went to France. They were doing the same. We went to Italy. They were doing the same. We went to Germany. They were doing the same. We went to Switzerland. They were doing the same. We went to Greece. They were doing the same. We went to Yugoslavia. They were doing the same. We went to Austria. They were doing the same. I didn't go to Poland, but I'm sure they're doing the same. I didn't get to Russia. I tried to get there, but I'm sure they were doing the same. White folks was on it. They work in their building, stealing and lying and cheating, but they're building, brother. They're building. I went to China. Brother, they were building. Everywhere I looked in China, I saw a crane. Schools going up, factories going up, hospitals going up. China building, getting ready to put rockets up. In fact, China, when America's rockets failed, China said, I got a booster that will put anything in space that you got. Bring your business here. The Chinese up. Japan, when we hit Japan, you could feel it in the airport. Japan is up, moving. Everything is on, moving, brother. Korea, moving. Vietnam now, moving. Thailand, wherever you go in Southeast Asia, people getting up, trying to do something. But now when you get where black folk live, travel with me a minute. You get into Australia, you see the Aborigines, brother, was over there teaching them. It was rough, wasn't it, brother? They were laid out in the streets. in Australia with wine bottle, whiskey bottle. Am I lying, brother?
That's right. That's right.
You went into Papua New Guinea and you saw the Aboriginal people there. What kind of shape were they in?
Bad shape.
Were they in bad shape? Right. In Southeast Asia, the blacks on the islands in bad shape. Right. Ain't building nothing. Just laying around. Like Jesse said, rocks. Laying around. Doing nothing. Travel with me now.
Yes, sir.
Did we go into the Caribbean?
Yes, sir.
They're trying out there, brother.
Right.
Trinidad is trying. But most of the people just laying around. You come on through the islands of the Caribbean, wherever black folk are, they're down trying to get up. Down trying to get up. Did we travel in Africa? Wherever you find a black man in Africa, he's down struggling. We saw him in Ghana. We saw him in Nigeria. We saw him in Sierra Leone. We saw him in Ivory Coast. We saw him in the Gambia. We saw him in Senegal. Wherever we saw him, he was down. We saw him in Benin. We saw him in Burkina Faso. We saw him in Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. Wherever we saw him, he was down, brother. The black man is down all over the world. Go to Brazil, 40 million down there, down.
Yes, sir.
Meet him in Belize, meet him in Central America, meet him in Cuba, meet him wherever you meet him. He's down and down there, out on his feet.
Yes.
Chinese up, Japanese up, Korean up, white folk up. Even in India, brother, the black in India is down. Now listen. Y'all all right? Yes. Do you think that God needs to give a message to the black man? Yes. Come on. Yes. Do you need a message? Do we need a message? Yes. Now if God is God, and I know he's God, and I know he's a good God, I know he's a merciful and forgiving God, but don't tell me that. You didn't give prophets and messengers to Chinese and Japanese and Indians and Caucasians and Jews and Assyrians and Turks. Beautiful, God, I applaud you. Great, great work. But there's some folk in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. There's some folk in Illinois, New York State, all the way to California. There's some folks in Belize, in Caracas, Venezuela, in Central and South America that need a message. There's some brothers of mine in Africa that haven't had a message in 50,000 years. Somebody need a message in Africa, brother. Y'all all right? Yes, come on now, hang in there with me. There's a couple more seconds. Look now, if all the others are doing good and their good is bad, the white folks' good is bad in the sight of God, because all the good that he's done it by doing injustice to the dark people of the earth. That's not good. That's bad. Our Arab Muslim brothers, they're sincere, many of them. They mean good. They spread the message of Islam all over the world, but they ain't too interested in spreading it to black people.
Right.
Sorry about that, Arabs. You gotta take your lumps. I see Muslims in the Caribbean, they keep their Islam to themselves. They will use blacks, but they won't teach blacks the message of the Quran. I've seen them in Africa. When they bring the message of the Quran, they bring it with a sort of Arab imperialism. That is to make black people bow down to the image of something other than God.
That's right, yes.
In the name of bowing to the oneness of God, you want to get in the way of God and have us bow to you too. Well, if their good is turned bad, the Jews' good has turned to bad. Because the Jews were given the major prophets and major scripture, and they rewrote their books. They don't teach the Torah, they teach the Talmud. The Torah was revealed by God through Moses. The Talmud is the work of their doctors of law and their scholars. So the Jews have failed in their work. They were chosen of God, but they didn't keep up the duty that made them into that covenant with God. Therefore, they're not chosen today. Yes, Christians, I'm sorry, Christian, listen. White folk didn't make you a Christian to bring you to Jesus Christ. If they had made you a Christian to bring you to Jesus Christ, they would have made you a good Christian. But you're not a good Christian. Talk to me. Hell no. And I say that with confidence. If Jesus came to the earth today, he would close the church and go to the whorehouse and find better Christians in the whorehouse than in the church, because they have turned the church into a whorehouse. They have turned the churches into houses of lesbians and homosexuals and all kind of deviant behavior. Talk back to me if you can. I want you to make this clear. I'm not against the church. No, sir. I love the church, and I love those in the church who are striving to find God and to serve Jesus. I'm only making a point of objective reality to make you understand that the white man's aim was never to make you a Christian. He gave us Christianity to make us better tools of service of white people, and that you have become. You have not, wait a minute, you have not as a Christian built nothing for yourself. You don't fight for yourself. You fight for white people. You build for white people. You enjoin love for white people, forgiveness for white people, but you never teach your people to forgive one another, to love one another, to fight like hell for the justice of one another. The preachers are mainly the scatters black people in America to stand up for the sheep that pay their bills and feed them while they get fat off of the people and suck their blood and then bow down on the altar of white people. Oh, you just a hateful man of churches, and I love the preacher. Because I know that preacher, if he ever gets on the real word of Jesus, will free our people overnight. I know can't nobody deliver God's word better than them that's in the church that call themselves preachers. The Muslims have been around here trying years to deliver the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we're like plumbers trying to do a carpenter's work. You miss your tools. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You do the best you can. But when them preachers wake up to the understanding of God's word and decide, I submit to the Lord of the worlds, I'm telling you, overnight, black people will be up and moving, because the preacher, he's the hold up, but the preacher is the lift up once you get hold up out of his vocabulary. Yes, sir. All right. All right. Well, now, in conclusion, Abraham, according to the scriptures of the Bible, talked about his seed going into bondage. 400 years in a strange land. Jesus comes back with a parable of a rich man and Lazarus at the gate of the rich man begging for the crumbs. You remember it? And the rich man didn't have any compassion on Lazarus, sent the dogs out, and the dog had compassion. And in another scene now, Lazarus died. Had been dead how many days? 4 days, and started to stink. The rich man died. Lazarus is taken immediately to heaven, and he's in the bosom of who? Abraham. Why Abraham? Why is Lazarus in Abraham's bosom? Are they kinfolk? They had to be. If Abraham said, Lord, make us submissive, and from our offspring raise up a nation from the foot of the nations. So he's seen now in Abraham's bosom, because he's the answer to Abraham's prayer and prophecy. Y'all all right? Yes, we're wrapping it up now. Now I want you to look at the Quran. These words. And when Abraham and Ishmael raised the foundations, plural, of the house. Stop. How many foundations does one house have? I said, maybe it's a typographical error in the Maulana Muhammad Ali, so I got the Yusuf Ali translation, and it said, and when Abraham and Ishmael raised the foundations, plural, of the house. Now the house is singular, but the foundation is plural. Then it can't be talking about no building of brick and mortar and stone. It's talking about human beings who are down and dead and need to be raised. Isn't that beautiful? Now, when you got a foundation you building, what material do you put in the foundation? Soft stuff? The hardest stuff you can find is in the foundation, brother. And if the higher up you going, the deeper you got to dig that foundation. And the harder the material you got to put in the foundation. If the kingdom is eternal, then you got to go to the bottom in order to find the material for your foundation. Y'all are with me, ain't you? Now, where you been all these years? Talk to me. Oh, shoot. We used to sing a song in the church called No Bottom, meaning that hell don't have no bottom. It seems like the more you put in it, hell still got more. Room for more. Is that right? Well, if hell don't have a bottom, and God has come to the bottomless pit of hell to raise one from the dead. And in the book of Revelations, it teaches you that the Lamb looked as though it had been slain from the foundation of the world. Not the world, but the foundation of the world. What is the foundation that this world is built upon? See, it's built upon the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, and the back of the black man. Talk to me. But now, one was slain from the foundation, messed up totally, brutalized, beat. But yet God saw fit to raise him. And he became the first fruit of them that slept, and the first begotten of the dead. A tried stone, a precious stone, but it pleased God to make him the cornerstone of a new world order. In fact, the Bible calls him the chief cornerstone, which means there may have been a few other little ones in the corner, but they weren't the chief. And if you go to Mecca, you'll find that there are other stones in the corner, but only the black one is the one that is really given the real high preference. You don't kiss all the other ones, you kiss that chief stone. Y'all all right? You ready for the answer to end this? Oh, shoot. It's you. It's you. Man, it's you. God brought you and me into America by the hand of white people. It was God doing it all the time. God allowed the white man to take away our name, our language, our culture, our religion, our God, turn us inside out, and drop us down. God permitted this. And after he turned us upside down, then deprived us of knowledge, wouldn't let us read books for 300 years. And we are 100 years up from slavery and still don't read books. Come on now. God didn't want nobody in the world to teach you. He wanted that job for himself. He said, I'm not going to let nobody make you great. because through you I'm going to make myself known in the world. And you that was down deeper in the mud and the filth and the degeneracy of the world than any other human being, I will choose you for my glory. I choose the foolish and base things of the world, and through them I'll bring to naught the things that are wise and powerful and mighty. And here it is. And right from among us, God chose a stone, a human being, that would be the cornerstone. He's a tried stone. He's a man that went through much to teach us. And I must lift up his name, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That man suffered so much for our deliverance, for our resurrection, for our elevation. He knew that he had a short time among us, so he worked hard and fast and furious because he knew that he had 40 years to work, and the number 4 means foundation. Foundation. He worked 40 years to do what? Lay the foundation. The foundation is not, I repeat, stone or steel. The foundation is people. Black people. Y'all all right? Yeah. A foundation is the base upon which something rests. Specifically, the supporting part of a house. And it is the fundamental principle on which a thing is founded, is its foundation. Look at Revelation now. Hold back the 4 winds. Don't let them blow till I go down and seal my elect in their forehead with the seal of the living God. What is the foundation, the principle? What is the fundamental principle upon which the house is to be built? There is no God but Allah. That's it. Raise up in them a nation submissive to thee. And this is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called us the nation of Islam. Not that he was teaching black nationalism. He didn't want to make us some pseudo people running around here. I'm black and I'm proud, I'm black and I'm proud, I'm black and I'm great, I'm black and I'm pretty. You misunderstood Elijah Muhammad. He had to get to black in order to get through black. He couldn't teach you the fundamental principle before he made you to love who you were. You didn't love yourself as a black person. We didn't love ourselves. White folk made us hate being black. And the darker we were, the more hateful we were of ourselves. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had to teach you how to love your black self, but that's not the fundamental principle. The fundamental principle is not love of black. The fundamental principle is exactly what Jesus taught. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor or your brother as yourself. So we're going to build a nation of righteous people now, and the fundamental principle is there is no God but Allah. One God and one God alone. And we will not bow down or worship any image or likeness of him. We will bow down only to Allah. Look now. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad inculcated that into us. And he said to us that Allah came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And of course the Islamic world just went off. They said, oh, this is terrible. Can't say this. God is not a man. He's not a human being. How dare you limit God to such thing? Oh, I can't take it anymore. You're kafir, you're disbeliever, you're unbeliever. You cannot be a true Muslim. And Elijah Muhammad took all of that with a smile. Made us hate being black. And the darker we were, the more hateful we were of ourselves. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had to teach you how to love your black self, but that's not the fundamental principle. The fundamental principle is not love of black. The fundamental principle is exactly what Jesus taught. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor or your brother as yourself. So we're going to build a nation of righteous people now, and the fundamental principle is there is no God but Allah. One God and one God alone. And we will not bow down or worship any image or likeness of him. We will bow down only to Allah. Look now. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad inculcated that into us. And he said to us that Allah came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And of course the Islamic world just went off. They said, oh, this is terrible. Can't say this. God is not a man. He's not a human being. How dare you limit God to such thing? Oh, I can't take it anymore. You're kafir, you're disbeliever, you're unbeliever. You cannot be a true Muslim. And Elijah Muhammad took all of that with a smile. Because what was he saying? Allah says in the Quran, Allah is the truth, Al-Haq. Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. He's the beneficent, the merciful. He's the mighty, the wise. And all that Elijah Muhammad was saying is that in this human being that came to us was the truth. In him was power and wisdom, beneficence and mercy. It had to come in a form that we could receive it, since God don't drop books out of the sky. He always sends men.
Yes, he does.
Don't he?
Yes, he does.
If you've seen a book falling out of the sky, you say, oh, somebody threw it out of a plane. You ain't gonna run pick it up because you run past books. So if God want to get some wisdom to you, he got to put it in what? He got to put it in a man and make the man appeal to you. But when the man teaches you the wisdom, if the wisdom is from God, then the wisdom is of God, and the wisdom is God. So when he put God in you, then the man can go away, because God is now present in the word, in the spirit, in the beneficence, in the mercy, in the power in that word. He laid a foundation. Elijah Muhammad worked, and then he went away. After 40 years, he's gone. Now, many Muslims think that what happened under Imam Warithuddin Muhammad was some great evil. I beg your pardon. It's because you're not seeing from God's eyes. What happened as a result of the Imam's teaching was as necessary as what his father taught. Because if you don't have the thesis and then the antithesis, you can never develop the synthesis that will allow you to pull the whole thing together. The father, Elijah Muhammad, laid down the thesis. Imam Warithuddin came and laid down the antithesis. And now what is absolutely necessary to bring the house together is the synthesis, because Imam Warithuddin Muhammad didn't teach all false. He taught a plenty of truth. Elijah Muhammad laid a base in truth, brother. We just didn't understand it. We thought we understood it. Now what is necessary is to take from the thesis and the synthesis and bring them together into a whole, and pull the whole house together and raise the foundation of the house. Now we can take care of the business that I called you all here for and go home. I asked all the Muslims, followers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to come out, didn't I? I asked all those who are processing on form to come out. I asked all sympathizers to come out. Those of you who are here for your first time, never been here before, you were invited to this to hear something. What you know of Elijah Muhammad, you know that man was a builder. In Chicago, there never was a black man before him or since that built what he built in any one city. Here's a man that had a mosque, a school, University of Islam. He built restaurant, bakery, supermarket, ultra-modern printing press, lamb packing plant. He had sales and office building, professional buildings. He had apartment buildings, homes. A bank. He had food, clothing, shelter, commerce. The man was not a talker. He was, in fact, what? A builder, a doer. All right. Y'all all right now?
Yes, sir.
Hold on in there. You that came for the first time. I know I don't want to bore you, Lord. I don't want you to get angry with me and walk out. But this is the business that I called you here to hear. And even if you don't take part in it, it's okay. But at least you hear it. The Imam felt, and rightly so, that when you put spiritual men into business, the business takes away their spiritual eye. And before you know it, they start thinking more in terms of money than the word of God. And the love of money will corrupt the spirit of God, and the nation will never be what the nation is supposed to be. Now, if God didn't want the nation torn down, he would not have permitted it to happen. The fact that he permitted it to happen, something was wrong with the nation. The nation had to go down in order to come up again and come up right. But it can't come up on the white man is the devil. It can't come up on hatred and vindictiveness and bitterness. It must come up on the fundamental principle upon which the thing is founded, and that is that there is no God but Allah. Now listen. So look, did we lose everything? Yes, we did. The bank closed down. The supermarket gone. Bakery gone. Farm gone. Factories gone. Restaurant gone. Newspaper plant gone. $1 million press gone. Farm in Alabama, 20,000 acres of it gone. Sheep gone. Trucking gone. Airplane gone. Airfield gone. Hangars gone. Is that right? It gone, brother. Not only did that go, the people gone. Yes. People left from where he had put them. Yes, sir. They left themselves. They left their mind. I left my heart. They left something in San Francisco under the bay. And before you knew it, the Muslims went back to boogieing. You know, we used to boogie. Now we're boogieing again. Muslims went back to partying. Muslims went back to drugs. Muslims went back to whoring and doing all the things that Elijah Muhammad had cleaned us up from. So when we lost the moral thing, when we lost the spiritual eye that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us, then we began to lose everything else. But why did God permit it to happen? He wanted you to see and become grounded in what his father, or what Elijah Muhammad taught us. We were not rooted in it strong enough. Otherwise, we couldn't have been plucked away from it so easily. So he wanted to re-root us in it, make us a strong foundation. So he asked the question, how strong is the foundation? Can we survive? Y'all all right? Yes. Now, the Imam is a deeply spiritual, sensitive man. One of the most brilliant young men in terms of Islam. Anywhere to be found in the Western Hemisphere, you can sit him down and talk with Islamic scholars, and his exegesis and explanation or tafsir of Scripture is deeper than a lot of the people in Mecca. You may not think so, but he's a deep young man. But the people could not appreciate the profound spiritual things, because the imam was so, he disliked the law of his father. The way his father had the discipline on us. You know, we were very disciplined people. When you saw Muslims, you saw us look like we were ramrod straight. Nobody messed with Muslims because they knew we didn't play. Well, we do a little bit now. Some of these Muslims have become playful, son. Well, anyway, some of us went back to praying. But anywhere you saw a Muslim, you could pick him out. That's a Muslim. There he goes. How you know? Look at that clean look. Look at that shine on his face. The sisters, you could tell them right off. They didn't wear no mini dress. Sisters dressed down to the ankle. You laughed at them first. But after a while, you said, aren't they beautiful? Aren't they beautiful? The bums on the street, they be drunk. And they be saying, hey, baby. But when the Muslims are, hey, B.R., I mean, Sharif, Slum Slinkum. They wasn't going to mess with us. Gangbangers would gang bang, but they didn't gang bang around us. Because they know they had a superior bang coming to the gang if they ganged around us. We whooped behind, up and down, cross around. Everybody knew when the Muslim come, that's it. Everything shut up. Preacher hide his Bible because we call him to task and whoop him in his own Bible. Muslim from the east, he come to us trembling because he couldn't handle what we were talking. And all the gangs, they respected Elijah Muhammad because they knew he was the boss of all bosses. And he was not a gangster. But don't nobody cross Elijah Muhammad. Wonderful man, brother. He loved all of you. He took Jeff Ford, Chief Malik, into his home and talked to him. He loved Chief Malik. Let me tell you something. That young man is something else. You call him a gangbanger, but you think them white folks, they scared of that man. They scared of him because they see in him a real general, a commander of arms and armies. And they don't ever want him to rise to command nothing because they know if he ever get command and get his thing made right, we'll be free down there overnight. They know that. So they're giving him enough time to rot. But he ain't going to do all that time. He yet going to serve Allah. Allah got him there. He's going to grow. And if Allah pleases and he lives, he'll still be a giant in the army of God. Now let me say this. We lost everything. And 10 years ago, Brother Farrakhan decided to try to rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I had nothing. Not a dime, just love. Not only love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but I had love for those who followed Warith Deen Muhammad, who were my brothers and sisters. We soldiered together for years. And I didn't know how to get started to keep us from killing each other. But Allah guided me. And I thank him. And we started building all over the country. And in the Imam's desire to cover the work of his father, he would from time to time lash out against me. But I would never talk back. I learned a lesson from Malcolm. Malcolm made a profound mistake and he's no longer with us. Malcolm attacked an institution. And when you attack an institution, you will die and the institution will live. Warith Deen Muhammad had become an institution. I was not a fool. I just went on about my business. But I felt that the more he attacked me and the less I talked back in an attacking way to him, some of his followers would begin to say, well, gee, he keeps, beating on Farrakhan, but Farrakhan ain't saying nothing against him. And pretty soon people will begin to look back at him and then begin to raise questions that would begin his process of growth toward his father. Now the aim always is to save, never to destroy. After 7 years underground, I decided to come out. I wouldn't speak to the press. I wouldn't talk to no reporter. 7 years I worked underground because of the way Elijah Muhammad guided me. And he guided me perfect. And because I had sense enough to go back and try to remember what he told me and carry it out, I came up out of hiding underground. And the moment I came up, the attacks came. But see, if you root it well in the people, then the attack can't move you because your foundation. The foundation is secure. My foundation was in the hearts of the people. So when the Jews came out against me, they blew and they blew and they blew and they blew. The president blew, the Senate blew, white leaders blew, black leaders blew. Farrakhan just whoo.
Yes, sir.
Because my foundation was well laid in the people. And all the time that I'm working, I'm thinking of you, but I'm also thinking of my brothers and sisters over there with the imam. I never called this house Muhammad Mosque. I called this the Final Call Administration Building because I never looked at this as no mosque. My mosque and our mosque was at 7351 Stony Island, and like Muhammad had to go back to Mecca because that's where his heart was. My heart was on Stony Island Avenue, and I knew that ultimately one day with the help of God, you and I would go home where we belong.
Go ahead, bro.
Now look, I'm finished. So, 3 weeks from the time that Elijah Muhammad's home would have gone to the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity because the estate couldn't pay the taxes. Alpha fraternity bought Elijah Muhammad's home for $200,000 in tax. And the home at the time he built it cost $1,250,000, $1,300,000. The home is worth now nearly $5 million. Well, how does one man worthy of a $5 million home? What is this? That Elijah wasn't too cool either. Wait a minute. Elijah know you better than you know yourself. If Elijah was teaching the world from a flat over here on Cornell or on the west side and came out in dungarees and sneakers and drove a Volkswagen, you say, oh, that nigga say he from God. With them damn sneakers on. Nigga say he from God, living over on the west side in a cold flat. And raggedy wife coming out there with run-over shoes. He need to ask God to help him out. I ain't gonna listen to nothing that nigga say, because if God really talked to that nigga, he'd have something. Wouldn't you think like that? You admire pimps, and you ain't a pimp. But if the pimp come to you clean, step out in Rolls Royce and slam the door, his nails, groom, diamond, you say, oh, look at pretty slim. And in your heart you said, damn, I don't want to be a pimp, but I sure want to drive like that. Sure want to live like that. You admire the dope hustler. You admire the prostitute. You don't admire what she does, but you admire what she can get for what she does. And get with what she does. She can change her fur 3-4 times a week. We can hardly change our underwear. We got to wash them out at night and hang them up and put them back on the next morning. So you said, I ain't gonna be no whore, but Lord have mercy. That Miss Jones, honey, that Miss Jones. You don't even call her Sadie, you call her Miss Jones because she got money. I watched the way you all talk about Fluky. You love Fluky. Now that Fluky was a bad. That Fluky was that bad. Did you see that nigga laid out in his casket on the wheel? Oh yes, that was Fluky's son. Laid out in the Cadillac, baby, with diamonds and money all in between his fingers. Now that's the way I want to go out in style. You was trying to get near the casket when nobody was looking. Or you could snatch off one of them diamonds and pull that money out from between his fingers. See, y'all want the best that life has to offer because you are the best. And God didn't put you here to be no poor, ragged, hungry, naked and out of door nigga with a pair of drawers with a hole in them walking down the street. Hell no. So Elijah Muhammad learned well. If he wanted to attract you, he had to show you that righteousness can bring you more than wickedness can bring you. Now, Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not a man that loved material things, but he had them to show you that whatever you want in this life, Allah will give it to you and then give you the life of the hereafter, as he promises you. If you submit to him and obey his law, he will make you great in this life and in the life to come. That's the teachings of the Holy Quran. So Allah blessed us. We were doing fine. The Muslim, we were coming along small, but we paid our own way, didn't we, brothers? Didn't we, sisters? But you know what? I spoiled every one of you, and I did you a serious injustice, and I hope all of you will forgive me this day, and I'm really asking for your forgiveness. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I did. Hush, honey. Ask my wife. You see, she can tell me that's right. Because she knows it's right. But listen. You know, the imam made leaders look so bad, so terrible, till I knew that we had been hurt so bad that I couldn't call you back to this work unless I could prove to you that I was not a robber. I had a nice car, but I had it before I met you. Now, you can't tell me I robbed you to get my little Seville that I had, because I didn't rob you. I had a nice home out there in Beverly Hills when I met you. So I didn't rob you to get it. I had it. I have to admit now, I didn't have fine suits like I got on now. I was in that nice home, but I was raggedy. In fact, my refrigerator looked brand new all the time. I missed Elijah Muhammad's bean soup, brother. I missed the food that my wife used to cook in the MGT. I come home and there would be some whipped potatoes, put the little flakes in a pan and you throw a little water in it. I got so tired one night I just cussed. I said, honey, look, I'm sick of this. We got to go back and cook like the way Elijah Muhammad taught us. This is terrible here. We were longing for him. We missed him when he departed from us. We were left, and the imam comforted us to a degree But when he took us in another direction, we were willing to go. But if the direction didn't profit us, we began to, wonder why all of this was. I mean, what was the circumstances for? Some of us got very bitter. Some of us got vindictive. Some of us were enraged. Some of us were hurt. And then others of us with a contrite heart asked God why. And Allah began to show us. It's all for your betterment. Now look at this. Gaddafi has been a friend of the nation for a long time. Now, Gaddafi ain't the man that the white man say he is. He's really a true revolutionary. He will overthrow your government. But that's him, He don't like oppression. He don't like oppressors. And he will try in every way he can to overthrow the government of the oppressor. So naturally, he's interested in overthrowing the government of America. I understand his aim. But we got an aim too, and we're not going to let Brother Gaddafi and nobody else use us to further their ends to our own destruction. So when it comes to Louis Farrakhan, Gaddafi knows enough about us and the nation. He said to his own people, leave Farrakhan alone. So he knows where he's going and he knows how to get there. Just help him. So he ain't interested in trying to get me to buy no weapons and put weapons in your hand. I mean, it's the biggest, dumbest thing that anybody could do. You think that white man is asleep? You out of your mind. Can nobody whoop that white man except God guide him? This white man is in power. He'll remain there until God take him out. You're not going to take him out with your revolutionary talk, nor your little pop gun that you had to go to him to buy. You sitting around in some little room, don't know what war is all about. Brother told you, this man is an old warrior, brother. He been warring for 4,000 years and he knows war. He knows how to make war. He knows how to fight war. He knows how to precipitate war. I'm not trying to tell you he's the greatest in the world, but he's the God of his own world, and nobody can defeat him unless you got a greater mind and a greater power. Then you can defeat the white man. Now, you ain't got that power. I don't have that power. God has that power. The worst mistake that a black man can make is to underestimate the white man. We all angry. See what he doing to us? Yeah, we gonna get him. Let's plan something. And you all sit down in a room like you planning something. And when there are two of you, he's the third. And when there are three of you, he's the fourth. And when there are four of you, he's the fifth. And when there's one of you, if you think out loud, he got it. If a man just can stand blocks away and point something at you and you whispering, yeah, brother, we gonna get him, brother. And it's louder on his machine than it is in this man's ear. That's why you ain't able to pull nothing off. You gonna blow up this, you gonna bomb this. Before you can get to blow it up, he blow you up. Because he's there. He ain't no fool. He's a world leader, a world ruler. This dude sits in the sea, spies on Russia. And Russia spies on him. He got spy things that go in the water, spy things that go in the air, spy things that go underwater. You don't even trust your own eyes spying. Well, how are we going to win then? You can't win except you go with God. There is no victory over this enemy except God gives you the victory. And I don't have to say that. I'm not trying to put us down, but I'm saying we just woke up yesterday and some of us is half asleep now. And this white man do not sleep. When you sleep, he's working. He destabilizes governments all over the world. And if you read the Quran, it said he tries to steal a hearing on the exalted assembly. Now here's a man that gets so heavy that when God and the scientists sit down, he's there trying to snoop on them. Brother and sister, Allah blessed us to get that home back. Some of you went crazy. In truth, you did. You said that Farrakhan living in Elijah Muhammad home, well, he got what he want. I got to go get what I need. Do you think that Elijah Muhammad's home is payment to me for what I've been through and am going through and about to go through? Do you think a house of stone and wood, no matter how beautiful it is, can pay a man that suffers for your redemption? Oh, brothers and sisters, it's because you don't have anything comfortable that you think that that is a price. But anybody that got comfort know that that's not where it's at. The greatest comfort, whether it's in a poor house, is to lay down with peace and contentment of mind. Believe me. And rich people who are wicked would gladly trade places with you if they could get a moment's peace when they see their world coming down. Ask Aretha Franklin. Ask Johnny Mathis. Ask Natalie Cole. Ask, what's this football player, Sweetness. Ask Walter Payton. Ask Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Ask Muhammad Ali. Is money and fame the be-all and the end-all of life? You would think so because you don't have it. But ask them that got a taste of it, and they'll say with all their fame and all their fortune and all the money, Ali would rather now have his health. I went speaking around this country, took the money that they gave me, and bought $19,000 worth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's books that Imam Waruddin wouldn't let them sell. I bought them, along with all the Qur'ans by Maulana Muhammad Ali. And I gave them to the Muslims. The Muslims sold them, and we started building a treasure. In my speaking, I went around the country making $1,000, $1,500 a speech. Sometimes I'd be lucky and get $2,000 for a speech. And I took the money and bought this building. I never asked the believers for a dime. I bought the building and my name is not on it. Did you hear me? Go and search the deed of the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. My name is nowhere on it. It belongs to the Nation of Islam. That's all of you who believe in Islam. That's yours. Huh? When Gaddafi loaned us the money, Brother Farrakhan bought this building. We bought this building on the corner. My name is nowhere on it. We set up power. And Farrakhan went all over the country interesting the people in power, but Farrakhan don't own the company. It's owned by the Nation of Islam. Did you hear me? I made records and tapes, videos and audio tape, and here's a brother that can tell you, even though it's my own composition, I put it out, I never got a dime for it. All it came back to the Nation of Islam. Is that right, brother? I got a second mortgage on my home and set up the Final Call and never got a salary from the Final Call in 8 years. I'm not trying to show you that I'm some great guy. But if you got any sense, you say he's a great guy or a fool. This is my wife and my children are here. I have not gone out to build for myself personally nothing. And I've been working for you for 33 years. So you can be confident. I ain't no robber. I wear nice suits, yes. I have a nice home, yes. But money, I don't have that, because when you give it to me, I find ways to spend it back on you. Ask all the people that benefit from the charity of Farrakhan. I have proved myself to all of you that I'm your brother. The enemy knows this. Now look, brothers, sisters, I hurt you in doing that. Because you know what? This ain't Farrakhan's nation. It's all of ours. And by depriving you of the chance to give in charity to make this a reality, I did not make you a part of what really belonged to you. You can't just give it to somebody and make them a part of it. You have to ask them to assist in making it reality. Then they become a part of it. But a mother and a father does for you when you're not able to do for yourself, to build up in you strength to one day be able to do for yourself. So I acted as a mother, and I acted as a father, and I did my very best to give you what I thought you needed. And now I've gone as far as I can go as an individual. Now you must help me.
Yes, sir.
Did you know that because of a judgment that the court handed down against the American Muslim Mission, they have a judgment against them for nearly $13 million on one judgment. Elijah Muhammad had $4 million in what is called the number 2 Poor Treasury, and it was turned over to the American Muslim Mission under Imam Warithuddin, and later members of the family challenged that ruling, and the courts said that the bank was wrong. The bank should not have turned over what was the private estate of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to the community. Argument went back and forth. Finally, the lower court said the bank was wrong, and they have to give the family of Elijah Muhammad the $4 million in the number 2 Poor Treasury, along now with interest and on the principal, and that comes to between $6 and $7 million. So now there's a $13 million judgment against the American Muslim Mission because they sold off properties, and 1/12 of that corporate entity belonged to the estate. So the judge, I guess, figured it out and assessed it to be $13 million and put a judgment against the American Muslim Mission. Now that's my family over there too. I know some of you feel bad that we had to leave our house, but for peace sake, it is better to leave if you can't get along because you have two different ideas. We work it out properly. We did better, beloved Imam, we did better than the Arabs do because they're killing each other. We haven't so much as shed each other's blood from a nosebleed. So we did better than the Arab world, showing you what our teacher put in us was much more profound. And those who were leading the community, both the Imam and myself, we had another kind of idea and thought and perspective. Otherwise, blood would have been in the streets. I'm almost finished. I finished the lecture a long time ago. Lecture through. This is the business meeting. Now, brothers and sisters, a lawyer for the estate filed his judgment a day ahead of the bank. The bank should have been first in line, but they procrastinated, and the lawyer for the estate filed his 1 day ahead, so the bank got to wait until $13 million to the estate is satisfied, which means that Mr. Cook, who is the lawyer for the estate, could take all the Muslims' property and sell it to whoever they want. He want to sell it to just to get money in the estate. So the American Muslim Mission filed for bankruptcy, which was a wise counter move on their part. Otherwise, there would have been a sheriff's sale, and the mosque on Stony Island would have been sold to anybody who came up that day with the right amount of money. And if they didn't come up with the right amount of money, Attorney Cook, who had a $13 million judgment, could have bought it with paper and had it until he could get the right amount of money for that piece of property. I mean, the community was in a bind. You got the picture? Am I making it clear? So when the judge said to the American Muslim Mission, okay, we grant you your bankruptcy petition, but now the judge ordered the American Muslim Mission to sell off some of their assets in order to pay their creditors. That means now that the American Muslim Mission has up for sale the mosque at 7351 Stony Island and the school. So who else would be desirous of getting it? Maybe some others would be desirous, but it was built by the Muslims. We sacrificed to build it. So we don't want it in the hands of somebody who disrespects the aim and purpose of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And because of the way we conducted ourselves in this whole trial, Imam Muhammad said he don't know of anybody more worthy of the property on Stony Island than Louis Farrakhan and those with him. Now, brothers and sisters, so to make a long story short, we have entered into an agreement with the American Muslim Mission to buy back the mosque and school on Stony Island and all other related properties of the Nation of Islam. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Now, I don't have the spirit. You remember how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said people will laugh at you one day, and one day, if you want, you can laugh at somebody else? See, this is no laughing matter. This is nothing to be exultant over and act ignorant over. Because each side has learned something. In this 10 or 12 years that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has gone from us, we have experienced a lot, we have learned a lot, and as a result of what we've experienced, the time has come now where God himself is touching the hearts of all of us, making us see the value in each other, and he's moving the nation together again, and we will be one nation of Islam just like we were in the beginning. You can count on it. You can count on it. This is what Allah wants. You can count on it. Now, you may not know this, but you know I've gone all over the country talking to various Christian ministers because I feel we need unity, brotherhood. What God has taught us through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad needs to be in the church. We don't need to pull our people out of the church, put the truth of the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the church, and let the church grow and become a strong, integral part of the liberation struggle of our people, because it's born that way. The church is actually destined to lead the people to liberation with the gospel of Jesus and an enlightened gospel. So if I could go and talk to Christian ministers and organizational leaders of the nationalist camp and the civil rights camp, I'll talk to every one of them. To Silas Muhammad, I can't talk to Hamza and the rest of the Muslims who have been scattered. I can't talk to the Imam. I beg your pardon. So, that piece of stone on Stony Island, Elijah Muhammad said he would pay 10 million for it. He said because it was worth that much to him, because he saw the future of it. He saw the value of that symbol to people who understand and are moved by symbols. The real stone is you. The real mosque is you and me. But that house that he bought, he had a reason for buying it on that street at that time for that price. So we agreed on a price. The price is $2.1 million. $2,175,000. We've agreed. In my hand, I have a memorandum of understanding, an agreement between the American Muslim Mission and the Nation of Islam. Now look at this. Do you know this is historic? This is a copy of it. The original has the flag of the American Muslim Mission, which is the Quran. And it says, Masjid Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is their stationery. And on it is the memorandum of understanding, which is the basis of our contract, which is being worked out between the lawyers at this moment. Allah willing, the signed contract and money put up in escrow will take place one day this week, if it be the will of Allah, and then we go to work. Now I got some work for you to do. Because now we got a school building, and all our babies now can go to their own school. That's all of you and your children. Look now. Oh, you didn't hear me, did you? Some of the best educators in America are Muslims, whether you know it or not. And if we raise the right kind of money, I can pull them away from the colleges and universities that they're working in and bring them here to Chicago, and we will reestablish, not take down the name Clara Muhammad, because Lord knows we love her. She's our mother too. And we want to honor Sister Clara Muhammad in everything we say and do. But I personally think that the University of Islam is a better name for the school, because we born out of our mother's womb into the universe. And everything that we learn while we're here is pertaining to the universe. So from the time we come into the world, we're in the University of Islam. And Islam is everything, sun, moon, and star. So Muhammad, University of Islam, from preschool to college. From preschool to college. How many of you got children? Grandchildren, keep them up. Suffering in the public schools. Let's set up our own. 1988 is the year. Now, do you think we're going to go there and put the American Muslim Mission out of the school? I should say not. We're going to school together. They say, well, how we going to go to school together? We don't believe the same. We got more in common than we got in disagreement. Part of the condition of the contract is that the American Muslim Mission finish their year out from March to August and then turn the school over to the Nation of Islam. Okay? So we're not going to say no, because we want all of us to be together again. So September, we open up. They close down in August. We open up in September, and they can open up with us. Do you want the school? Do you want the mosque? If I could go in my pocket and buy it, I wouldn't. If I could go to the east and get the money, which I could, I wouldn't. Because this is something we got to do on our own for ourselves. Now here's how we're going to do it. You ready? We're going to raise $10 million. Farrakhan, what did you say? $10 million. It's a lot of money, isn't it? You know what Elijah Muhammad said? My bank is the hearts of my people. As long as the hearts of my people are with me, I'll never go to the bank with a check and it's marked insufficient funds. I'm going to the bank to get this money. What bank? First National? Citibank? Daiichi Bank? What bank? I'm going to our people. When Muhammad went back to Mecca, how many were with him? How many? How many years was it that he was out of Mecca before he went back to Mecca? How many years? I think this is 87. I think we were separated 10 years ago. And in the 10th year, we want to go home at the head of 10,000. Now, we already have that number. And then some. Oh, they fell away for one reason or another, but they didn't fall away here. Now, if every believer set 4 months from January 1st to May the 1st, that's 4 months. Is that right? January, February, March to April the 31st or 30th. 30th. That's 4 months. That's when the contract, Allah willing, the closing will take place on the 30th of April. I'm not going there with no mortgage from no bank. I'm going there with cash. We going there with cash. But we got to have enough cash that we not only get the building, we refurbish it. We would like to get back the sales and office building, or what they call the Pioneer Building. It's up for sale. The farm in Georgia, which was sold, but there may be a little clause in it that we might be able to manipulate a redemption. I sure hope you'll find out, brother, if there's a clause in there. Because we want them 5,000 acres back in our hands. And it ain't going to be just in our hands. But none of us as Muslims is going to lose. None of us as Muslims are going to lose. This is God's way of saying, see, I let you see the house go down. Now I'm going to help you bring it all the way back. And like Job, I'm going to give you more in your coming up this time than you ever had before. Now, the way we're going to do it, I'm asking every believer to not set their mind on 10 million. Each believer sets his or her mind on $1,000. Does that seem like a lot of money? If somebody told you that $1,000 stood between you and life, would you find a way to get that 1,000? And especially if they gave you 120 days to get it up and a way to get it up, would you get it up? If every believer sets their sight on a goal of $1,000, and that's $250 per month for the next 4 months, and we got ways that you can do it, we're going to map all of that out this week with the committee heads and chairmen, and we're going to come back and lay it on you. By the first of the year, we want to be off and running.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the method that we're going to use, we're going to be selling subscriptions to the Final Call and ads to the Final Call newspaper. Now, you know we sold $300,000 worth of ads for a book.
That's right.
So you know that the people are with us, and there's more with us now than were with us then.
Right.
Then we got clean and fresh products. And every one of us, we got over $250,000, $300,000 worth sitting in the warehouse. And we've got 90,000 tapes downstairs in the basement, ready to roll on any hot subject that you think our people would like to hear. That's really nearly $1 million right there. So we almost got the 2 million in sight. But since Muhammad went back at the head of 10,000, I'm going to find me 10,000 black people who will trust Brother Farrakhan enough to know that I am not a robber, I am not a liar, nor a thief, and give me $1,000, and what we will give you in return is your nation back in your hand, your school open, staff with teachers, your restaurant. Wait a minute. Wait a minute now. I know you've been walking by that place over here, wondering now, when is that thing going to open? When it opens, you're going to see something unlike you've never seen anywhere on this earth as a restaurant. And I'm not just talking. The outside of it alone should just tell you something is going on. We've put $680,000 into that already. And when that block, the whole block is going to be out. Everything on it. You see, that's a block long thing. A few more pieces that we got to put in the pocket. And we almost can feel them going in the pocket. And then what you see on that corner, you will wonder why any black man with sense would put something in the middle of the ghetto. But that's the kind of love that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had for black people, man. You don't take your best and put it down on the north side with white folk. You put it right where you gather your support in the black community with your people. And brothers, sisters, that is a $3 million enterprise right there. Nothing like it anywhere. And it's yours already. But when the finishing touches on it and the crescent is raised and you see it turning 90 feet in the air, you will know that Islam is alive in America and that he lives. $10 million is what we're going to raise. Do you think that it's possible that you personally could raise $1,000. If we show you the way to do it and give you 4 months in which to do it, do you think you could do it? You could? Remember, during this whole year of study, we talked about overcoming difficulty. We talked about desire. We talked about will. We talked about making God the center of your actions. Huh? And that whatever you can see in your mind, if you believe it and work, you can bring it into reality. Do you believe that? I would like to ask, will you help us to go back home? Will you? Can we count on you? All praise is due to our Lord. Excuse me. Now, I invited here today some of the brothers and sisters who are not in good standing. In the Nation of Islam, there are laws. We've got to produce a disciplined people. We're not going to be successful if we're allowed to just gossip, if we're allowed to fight each other, if we're allowed as men to beat our wives and there's no penalty for that, if we're allowed to just run through women and there's no penalty for that, we'll never be successful. You agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So when somebody offends our law, we excuse them from our society for a certain amount of time. I invited people here today who for one reason or another may not have been in attendance or broke the law. Why'd you do that, Farrakhan? Because you need money? You could say that. But that wouldn't quite be true. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was so independent. When he put you out, he wouldn't even accept your charity. And you can't steal and bring money. You can't sell drugs and bring money. You can't do nothing illegal and unlawful to bring money to this endeavor. It is not acceptable. Only your sincere effort in a righteous way will be accepted. Now, why do we call back those who for some reason have gone away or are in bad standing? This is why we called you back. Because in the Quran, it says, and I'd like to read it to you to show you where we are. In Surah 2, verse 271, it reads, "And if you manifest charity, how excellent it is. And if you hide it and give it to the poor, it is good for you. And it will do away with some of your evil deeds. And Allah is aware of what you do." Isn't that beautiful? So sometimes you can do wrong. And if you turn and do something good in a way of charity, it will do away with some of our evil or unrighteous deeds. Again, Allah says in Surah 5, verse 12, listen to this. "And certainly Allah made a covenant with the children of Israel, and we raised up among them 12 chieftains. And Allah said, surely I am with you if you keep up prayer, pay the poor rate, believe in my messengers, and assist them, and offer to Allah a goodly gift. I will certainly cover your evil deeds and cause you to enter gardens wherein rivers flow." Now, brothers and sisters, what I'm suggesting is that what I want us to do is to assist me in this endeavor. And if you will assist me in this endeavor, at the end of 120 days, I will almost guarantee you, you will feel like and almost be a brand new individual. Those uniforms that you paid for and have not gotten, they're down in customs. And the beast who couldn't get me when I slipped into the country was so angry that he couldn't get me, he kept our uniform. A sister lawyer came and in 2 days' work just about got those garments released. We believe that the first of the year, all the garments will be released. Now, why do you think God did not want us in those uniforms in 86? And why didn't he allow us to have a Savior's Day in 87? It was because he had something very important coming up in 1988 that would bring every one of us together. But in order to put on that all-white uniform, brothers, a white uniform, that represents purity. This act of charity will purify us from some of our evil deeds. And there is no one of you, listen carefully, who assists me in this endeavor who will not be readmitted into the nation in good standing if you say you will do all in your power to live by the law of God. Then we will walk into Stony Island as one nation, one people. Now, all of the Muslims, how many of you believe that in 120 days you can see where you can raise $1,000 toward this effort? How many Muslims in the audience feel that you not only can see it, but will in fact do it? Would you raise your hands? Stand up. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Very good. Very good. Now, those of you who are, you may sit down. Those of you who are processing on your way in to the nation, how many of you would like to help us open that school and get all of the nation's property back that belongs to you as well as us? Would you stand? Yeah, look at this. Beautiful. Thank you. Very good. You know what that means then, don't you? That means that right out of Chicago alone, we will raise nearly $1 million. Because not only will you do it, but there are people out there in the street who are not here nor there, but love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and want to see that mosque restored to what he envisioned it to be for all of us, and they too will join this endeavor. So out of Chicago alone, we'll come up with $1 million. I'm on my way to New York now. Now you know New York. What can I tell them, Chicago?
Tell them fight like us for number 2. Tell them the only way they can win is bet they lose.
They couldn't lose because whatever is in Chicago lifts up headquarters. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad envisioned Chicago as the capital of Islam in the Western Hemisphere, and that it shall be. So do you want me to tell New York that we're going to raise? What I saw today, there were at least 300 hands that said they were going to do $1 million. I mean, 1,000, pardon me. I guess I haven't had any water today. Would you be willing to pledge that 1,000?
Yes, sir.
And work to make your word bond?
Yes, sir.
In 120 days?
Yes, sir.
Now don't say if your husband says he will do it, wife, that he does it for you. Husband do it, wife do it. Right, wife?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My wife will do it. I got some daughters and sons around here. They're going to do it. So I'll go to New York and tell them that they can do well, but nothing and no one will outdo mosque number 2. Can you imagine how you will look and feel that day? You can't even believe, you can't even imagine what is in store for us in 1988 if we make this a reality and open that school and make it an example to all of our schools. I'm not interested in no little school on Stony. I want you to understand Farrakhan. It only has 500 or 1,000 students, and we got 200,000 black children going to the public school that are dying. I'm not interested in no little school that a few of us are in there being well taught. What I'm interested in doing is our lifting up an example, and then going and offering that example to the public school system, that our black children can be offered an alternative to the madness that white folk give them and call it education. Will you help me to do it? Well, I guess that's it. Thank you for a very long afternoon, God. I guess I can fold up the tent now. All my guests have said, Lord, I've never been in a place that kept me so long. The man taught us, then had a business meeting, then asked us for $1,000. Now, you know that man's really sick. But it's impossible for any newcomer to understand the joy that a Muslim has to return to the building that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got for us as a national center and a headquarters. You see this beautiful building? I don't think I want to sell this. We'll either turn it back into a bank, certainly not a funeral parlor. Brother Abdul Allah say, yeah, a lot of people dying to get in here. But this beautiful building here could become our Final Call radio and television outreach center. Because if we raise the money right, Farrakhan is definitely going to be on public access television and on television all across this country teaching the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't need but 1 or 2 years on television. I don't need but 1 or 2. You don't have to give me 10. Just give me 1 solid good year. 2 at the most. 3 would be heaven. Will you help? Yes, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful afternoon. My last words I want to say to the followers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When you meet your Muslim brothers and sisters from the American Muslim Mission, who may feel that they're going to lose something, you don't even allow that spirit to stay on them. They tell you, I understand you all are buying the mosque and school. You say, yes, but we are buying it for all of us. Don't go out of here in any exultant kind of spirit. God hates that. Be just as humble in its coming back to you as you were when you had to leave. Will you do that?
Yes, sir.
Can I count on you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. That's it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. With us today is so many wonderful Muslims from the days of our strength. We are so proud to have you with us. Brother, your twin is your twin. Brother, would you come up? This is our national inspector. I can't even call his name. Brother Miles Muhammad. Oh, you come over here, Brother Miles. You can't stand down there. And this is his twin brother, Brother Charles Nukman, who is an imam. Come up, Brother Imam. This is Brother Charles Nukman. Now, if you can tell these two apart, you good. Brother said you didn't see me stand up, but I'm sure going to help you. Now, you see this? Brother is a follower of Imam Warithuddin. Here's his brother, a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They both embraced each other in the bond of love. That is exactly what you will see when you are blessed to see the day that mosque opens. You will see the family of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the family of Farrakhan, which is one family because we married into the family. And you will see American Muslim Mission and followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad rejoicing because there is no loss. This is a victory for every one of us who believe in Allah. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Can I ask a question? How many of you are here for the first time? May I see your hands? Wow, look at this. Great, thank you. Thank you. Now, you don't have to tell me I kept you long, because I sure know it. We don't usually do it like this, brother. We really don't. But I had a subject to teach, and I wanted to talk about this business. And I'm so sorry that I kept you this long, but I hope you enjoyed being with your brothers and sisters. Can I ask you this question? Those of you who are here for your first time, second or third time, if you listen carefully to what we said, how many of you believe that what you heard taught today is true and good for our people? May I see your hands? Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I think that our work is done. All I can say to you is the greatest thing that you could give us is what you gave us this afternoon, your time. And the second greatest thing you could give us, quiet please, is your attention. And you were attentive. I didn't see you fall asleep. And if you did, it wouldn't be your fault. It would have been mine. And so you really gave me a blessing this afternoon just by being here. But what I would like to see is, how did Allah, God, affect the heart of the person? Because, there comes a time when people, and whenever you go to a church or they ask you if you'd like to become a part of it. And sometimes the preacher gets so upset if you don't join. He berates the people, beats them up. And really what it is a vanity thing because he's so ashamed because he thought he really preached, And if he preached, you should join. Well, I don't think like that. I just want you to know that you are under no obligation to join nothing, nobody at no time. Only if you feel that this is where you'd like to be and this is what you've been looking for all your life, and some of you have come to that conclusion already. And if Allah has touched your heart and made you to see that this is really where you would like to be, then of course it's right for you to unite with us and become a part of this. So I would like to ask all those of you who would like to become a part of the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, come back and learn more of this teaching and then help us to build for black people. If you would like to do that, may I please see your hands? Are there any who would like to do that? Just would you raise them up high in the balconies? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, what I'd like to do, may I have the privilege of shaking the hand of the sisters and the brothers who would like to do that. If you're in the balcony, come on down. If you're on the first level, come on down. I'll wait for you. I just want to have the privilege of shaking your hand, and then you go to the secretary. The secretary will give you a piece of paper to look at and to fill out, and that's all it is. And let's go to work and build for black people. Would you come up? Sisters, would you come up on this side? Brothers, come right on up. Sisters and brothers in the balcony, come on down and let me shake your hand, if you will, please.
Brothers and sisters, just step right up front. The sisters, you can step right out to the aisle, and brothers, step right up. Those upstairs can come right downstairs.